Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies and comrades, this is Kenya Revolutionary. Hope you're doing well wherever you are. Today, the topic is SAP, Structural Adjustment Program. David Ndii had some announcements, some bombshell that he announced yesterday. Something that I've been telling Kenyans we've been going through for such a while. But my friends were like, no, we're not. David Ndii confirms it. Kenya has been going through structural adjustment program. And this explains why we have higher taxes, we have higher prices on commodities, and everything is just high, okay? Because of this. But ladies and gentlemen, before I get started, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies and comrades, please, I'm about to post the link. So if you want to get into the discussion, get in. Don't hesitate. Let me post it. Let me post the. I don't know what's going on with my. Sorry guys. I just have to adjust the. I'm trying to get the link here. So if you want to join in, you can. There's the link. There's the link, ladies and gentlemen. On the chat. If you want to join in and have a discussion, tell me something about it. This is what's going on. David Ndii just announced that we are going through structural adjustment program. This is due to the amount of borrowing we've been borrowing for the past 10 years. We cannot repay our debts, and now we have to pay the price. Everything that we want to do as far as money that we need, borrowing that we need to do, it has to go. Any economic policy that we have right now has to go through the IMF. Now, I've been preaching, I've made several videos about this. Numerous. Go look at my videos. You'll see what I'm talking about. Yes, sir. Anyway, I won't be here for long, so bear with me. Let me grab some. I need to grab something. Ladies and gentlemen. I have to. How do I do this? All right. I need to get some coffee because this is real good. I have to make some coffee. So give me 2 seconds as I run and grab some coffee. We're going to talk about SAP. I'm going to be here till probably approximately 30 minutes. So if you want to join me. There's the link. Actually, let me just post it here. Join in the studio for a discussion by clicking to. There's the thingy. So for anybody that's want to join the discussion, there you are. There's the link. Get in the discussion, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about structural adjustment plan by the IMF. So everything goes through IMF. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just make this bold announcement in not so many words. This is what David Ndii meant. We are basically slaves for the West. Absolutely. There's no denying this. If you are under structural adjustment program, you are slaves. Okay? First, let me grab some coffee. Tune in. Let me get in the studio. Go to the studio. Let's have this discussion. But let me grab some coffee real quick. Give me 2 seconds. Let me grab this coffee and we'll continue the discussion. Just a minute, all right? Just a minute. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. All right, we are back. We are back. Structural Adjustment Program, SAP. This is a program by the IMF that it puts countries, especially most African countries, poorest countries in the world that borrow money from the IMF and the World Bank. If they cannot pay their loans, this is the kind of program that they go under. And the implications are dire because basically you have to go through the IMF to recommend anything. Let me explain to you. This is how Western governments keep African countries poor, okay? Because when you get into this structural adjustment program, number one thing they do is they ask you to devalue your currency. Have you been wondering why Kenyan shillings is losing its value against the dollar? That's because of structural adjustment program. These are the things that you have to do. Number two, they will tell you what cash crops to grow, okay? And for exportation, okay? What cash crops to grow, and they should be solely done for exportation. So that way, since your currency has been devalued, now you see the Kenyan shillings, $1 is equal to 150 Kenyan shillings, okay? So it makes it easier for countries, Western countries, okay, to buy, export the cash crops that Kenya grows, okay? And in reverse, it makes it expensive for Kenyans to import goods and services from these Western governments. And actually, they make us buy them. Okay, they make you buy them because they'll tell you what to do. You can't pay our loans. This is what you have to do. Okay, and again, in that book, where is that book? I have to take. I'll show you this book one. Today is the day of salvation. This book, please, if you want to understand how New Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. Again, the book is by a former CIA guy who worked for IMF and World Bank. And he discusses how these structural adjustment programs are used to keep African countries poor, actually third world countries poor, okay? Because now they will demand, they actually give you this aid that they claim that they give you, okay? The money that Uhuru Kenyatta was squandering when he was in power, that he was borrowing, the money that Jimmy Wanjigi told us never even reached Kenya, okay? This money they don't give you for development. They give it to you knowing that you will not pay it back, okay? They give it to you knowing that the top brass, the political elites of the country are already compromised. And they know that these guys will loot this money, misuse it, misappropriate it. And after they do that, they'll expect the country to pay, the nation to pay it back. But since it will take years, 1,000 years to pay it back, which is virtually impossible, they will put you under this program and they will tell you, basically control your economy, tell you what you can grow as your food staple, how much you can grow, and how much you are to sell it if you want to sell it. They'll tell you what you can price, how you price your commodities, okay? And they'll ask you to devalue your dollar. Now, something related to what is happening right now. Today, if you look at Okiom Tata's tweet, Okiom Tata mentioned that the MPs refused for an audit of how much we actually owe. Don't you find that what a coincidence? Because Kiom Tat, among others, were trying to see, because try to audit the debt that we have, the debt that we legally owe. Because remember, most of this debt were acquired illegally. And if they were acquired illegally, that makes them odious debt. And if it is an odious debt, that means the people who approve this debt are solely responsible for paying it back, which means Uhuru Kenyatta, which means William Ruto, which means Kibaki, which means Moi, pay that money back. Because it is an odious debt, it was not taken the procedure that was supposed to be followed before, because the National Assembly should approve every loan that we take, and loans can only be used for development. Okay, so for any debt that we have taken, most of it were not approved. Okay, we never had a budget. Our budget was not procedurally confirmed. And that's the Constitution. In Article 226(5) says that anybody that misappropriates this money are personally liable for that. They pay for that. Okay, so it's a coincidence that David Ndii mentioned that we are actually in, and he mentioned that this SAP program that we are in started under Kenyatta. It didn't start today. Okay, so I'm going to read his tweet so that we can get a clear understanding of what he said and some reaction. Okay, because now some reaction were actually really funny. But anyway, let's get to it. David Ndii is dropping some. Is dropping some bombshell. Okay. Here's what David says. If you look at his posts, and this was very funny. This is what David says. The country is broke. Unlike companies, when countries go broke, they are liquidated. They're not liquidated. These IMF programs is the equivalent to putting a country in receivership. Kenya is in receivership, okay? He's basically replying to. There's a video on his tweet where he basically explains, that we are under structural adjustment program. Okay. Well, so the way in us family countries. Okay. So with that, the funniest part is which is appalling. Some guy called Muhindi replied to that video saying, but your boss Ruto and Gachagua said during campaign they knew where the economy was hurting and that in 3 months or 100 days, Kenyans will give good testimonies. What went wrong after ascending to power? And this is what David Ndii replied. He said, and you believe them? Oh, Lord. Oh, my goodness. This is David. He's like, you know what? He's just tired. He's like, I'm done. But a lot of people don't understand what the implications are in this. When you enter into this IMF structural adjustment program, it basically means for someone like David Ndii, he cannot advise the government on any economic policy, because that anything that the government does has already, every economic policy that the government undertakes has that power has been undertaken, has been taken over by the IMF. Basically, IMF is going to make decisions for this government, how they are going to conduct their economic policies. Okay, that is basically what this means. That's why you see David Ndii is frustrated. And Miguna doesn't understand that because in his tweet, this is what Miguna said. Let me do da. Give me a second here so I can read you what Miguna said. Because Miguna was actually criticizing how David Ndii goes about it. Okay, so here's what David Ndii say. Miguna replied to what David Ndii was saying. Okay, just give me a second. Okay. All right. Get in, ladies and gentlemen. Get in. Log in. The chat is open. Get in. Okay. So this is what Miguna said an hour ago. But let me start with the one before that. Let me start with the one before that, okay? This is what Miguna said in response to David Ndii's tweet and video. Miguna said in his tweet, "This is pathetic for a chair of economic advisors at the presidency. Unless we are speaking about voodoo economics, the president's economic team must have strategies, plans, and programs aimed at solving Kenya's intractable problems, both short-term and long-term. They should have practical measures of success, which they ought to communicate to the citizenry. If they have no practical strategies and plans, or they do not know whether these strategies and plans will work, then they should say so to the president and let him choose other qualified Kenyans to help steer the ship. But for the chair of the Council of Economic Advisors to promise his economic strategies and plans for the country on the basis of speculation, and it might, in quote, it might not work or fail, or who knows, is to take Kenyans for fools. Kenyans are sick and tired of hearing the same old failed economic policies for Africa by the Bretton Woods institutions. You occupy senior public positions to come up with fresh and concrete solutions to Kenyans' problems, not to speculate, engage in voodoo economics, or smugly dismiss citizens' concerns. Millions of Kenyans are suffering out here. They deserve to hear respectful diagnosis and treatment plan from their doctors of economics and national planning. That's not too much for them to ask for it, is it?" I get where Miguna is saying in regards to what David Ndii, in response to David Ndii's tweet. But I disagree with Miguna because I think Miguna does not understand what these Bretton Woods institution do to you. Okay, Miguna, if you're watching, please go get this book right here, New Confessions of Economic Hitman by John Perkins. The reason why you see David Ndii frustrated is simply because his work is officially over. There's nothing that he can advise the president on as far as matters economics, because IMF takes over your economic policies. They determine what you do. By the way, they even determine who is president. Failure to follow these structural adjustment programs, if the president defies that, guess what's coming? A coup d'etat or an assassination, but there'll be change of guard. Okay? And this Bretton Woods institution, look at the countries that they control. I think Ghana is going through one right now. Nigeria is going through one right now, okay? These are examples. That's why you see Tinubu, the Ghanaian president, and Ruto are singing the same tune, okay? They are speaking against Niger, the coup d'etat in Niger, because they're colonial masters who control this Bretton Woods institution tell them to do so. You have to play by the book. What they tell you goes. Failure to do this, they'll take you out. That's why you see Ruto is in San Francisco in his knees, begging Whitman, begging Washington for help. Because that is what he has to do in order to stay in power. Okay? Failure to do that, they will take him out and get a puppet that will do their bidding. That is what Miguna doesn't understand about this. This structural adjustment program is not what it says. This is some serious business. These guys are willing. These IMF folks, this guy called them the jackals. They have a section where they call, number one, they bring in people like him, an economic hitman, who will negotiate with the president, tell him, hey, listen, this is the deal. We gave you money, you can't pay for it, so this is what you need to do. Okay? And they'll name corporations that you have to allow in your country. You have to create an economic free zone. Okay? You have to devalue your currency. Those are things that you have to do. Now, if the president does not want to do this and says, no, thank you, we are just going to pay our way out or we are going to default, guess what they'll do? They will fund a popular revolution against your government. If you survive that, guess what they'll do? He says, according to this book, they'll bring in the jackals. You know who are the jackals? I'll tell you who are the jackals. Have you ever heard of Blackwater? These are mercenaries, military mercenaries, ex-special forces unit, elite military men that will take you out, kidnap you or kill you in order to change God. Okay? These are the things that you have to do. That's why you saw the only reason why Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso had a successful coup d'etat was because they had the Wagner group that helped them. Okay? Wagner group is the Russian version of Blackwater. Blackwater is the American private mercenary group that has been involved in a couple of coups. And they operate in Congo, Somalia, and worldwide. Okay? That's what they do. So they're the American version of Wagner. Okay? So if Ruto defies these economic policies that the IMF will definitely tell him to do, he will be visited by this guy, the economic hitman, and give him a warning and tell him, read him the the Riot Act. And if Ruto doesn't abide to this, then guess what? They'll bring in the jackals. The jackal's job is to take you out through a coup d'etat or through an assassination. This is what the IMF, the Bretton Woods institution, have been doing in Africa for ages. That's how they did it in Lumumba. Okay? So yes, Miguna, you can be mad and say this about calling this pathetic. But this is what really goes on behind the scenes. And there's a confession by a person who did it. I recommend this book to you, Miguna, and any other politician, Kenyan politician. Go up there and read this. Read it. It's an eye-opener. It's an eye-opener. Most people don't know about this. You wonder why Africa keeps on being poor. Okay? But he might not know that. Maybe, Ruto knows that very well. That's why you say, I'll give you an example. Let me give you an example, ladies and gentlemen. Brothers and sisters, I'll tell you something. Okay? I'll tell you something that you might not know. Remember when Ruto got into that deal with Saudi Arabia where he wanted to buy oil in Kenyan shillings? Remember that? Who do you think told him not to do that and told him to buy it in dollars? Who told him to do that? Yes, it's the same guys, the IMF guys who told him that. Okay? So Ruto has to play ball. I've been making videos about this for a long time. The economic hitman. Once you get into these SAPs, structural adjustment program, the IMF takes over your economic policy, your economy, basically. You become their little bitch. Okay? I have a few minutes left. I'll try to stay longer. If you want to get in, get in. There's the link to get in the studio. Okay? This all makes sense. It makes sense. Okiya Mtata tried to audit the debt. He went to the Senate. He went to the, he's a senator. So he responsible for oversight. And he has been trying to figure out how much debt do we really owe. And some MPs, the National Assembly, blocked it. I will read it. Let me read the tweet so we have a point of reference. Everybody goes to MP Okiya Mtata Okoiti. Go to his Twitter. Okay? He goes to his Twitter page. All right? And he has a bunch of stuff that he's writing here in his tweets. He has a bunch of tweets. And actually, he quotes the businessdailyafrica.com, where MPs block Senate from scrutinizing national debt. Okay? Go read that article. Okay? So, he also he reposted something from last month where he said, contrary to what we have been told, SGR was fully funded by Kenyans to the tune of 900 billion. SGR did not cost 360 billion, and no money came from China. We want to know why we are repaying a loan for which no single cent came to Kenya. Okay, so there's a huge haste that has been going on, starting from the Uhuru Kenyatta government. And it's been going on under Ruto. Okay? So, if you connect the dots, my dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, Kenya is definitely been enslaved. It is always has been enslaved. And there's, in this age of information, you should be aware of what kind of rule you are under. In my previous live, I gave several examples stating why Ruto is a Western puppet. Okay? I told you why. It is because of this. Once you get to power, you will be visited by these Western governments, and they'll read you what you need to do. You can defy them, but risk getting assassinated, risk being overthrown and humiliated, okay? That's why I keep on maintaining the huge reason why the coup d'etats were successful in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger was with the help of the Russians through the Wagner group, okay? So, Kenya, we're doomed. And I know some people are saying, Raila is the answer. They're saying Raila could have offered something different. Raila, Baba, and Martha. No. Serious note. Raila has his handler already, Chris Coons, who tells him what to do, okay? So Raila cannot be the answer. Raila is a Western puppet. Okay? Let's not be fooled. Both the opposition and the government are part of this nonsense. But anyway, it's been 30 minutes. I didn't want to go more than 30 minutes today. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, this is what is going on. Ndii is frustrated, probably doesn't want to hold his job anymore. He threw in the white towel saying that we are under structural adjustment program by the IMF, which basically means the IMF has taken over the economic program of Kenya. Kenya is basically controlled by Western governments, okay? Not only do we have a Western puppet as the president, now we have a Western economic policies that are going to be put forth. As I mentioned, an example of that, part of the SAP is devaluing your currency, growing cash crops that these Western governments want, okay? And you will be forced to import most of your produce, or most of the produce you need for consumption, okay? You will be forced. You will be forced. You cannot, they'll tell you how much produce you can grow, and they'll force you to import things that they want to dump in your economy, okay? And so the prices of everything will go up. You see the taxation that has already gone up. Kenyans are overtaxed, okay? The prices of commodities are going up. You saw those clowns yesterday at Citizen TV, Moses Kuria, Ndii Nyoro, and all those jokers that were trying to justify why the price is up, saying that prices are up all across the nation. No, all across the world. No. That's why we have your own unique, you should have your own unique economic program. But no, you cannot have that, because Uhuru Kenyatta, who was another puppet, led us to these debts that Kenyans should not pay. Most of them are odious. But even the MPs who are being bought have been bought by these Western governments, okay, will not let the Senate to audit this debt, because most of these debts should be paid by the people who took them, because most of these debts were illegally acquired. So as per the Constitution, Article 226(5) says that these people who took these debts illegally should pay for them. Uhuru Kenyatta should pay for these debts that he took. What's his name? William Ruto should pay for the debts the loans that he's taken. We should not be under structural adjustment program because of these people. These people took these loans and used them for their personal use. Okay, you can see how the present government, the people, the CSS, riding around in private jets, buying expensive clothes. Okay, while we are languishing in poverty. Okay, because of these debts that these guys are taking and are squandering, not caring about the common mwananchi. The only solution is a coup d'etat, so we can install somebody, we can pick somebody who is not a Western puppet. Ruto is a Western puppet. Don't be fooled. Okay, I know Miguna is trying to defend Ruto just because he let you back in the country. But no, the truth has to be said. The truth we shall confront. Okay, and the truth is Ruto is a Western puppet, just like Raila Odinga is a Western puppet. Kenya is being led by Western puppets. Okay, people who are being controlled. They're taking their orders from Washington, D.C., taking their orders from the Buckingham Palace. These people can't think from themselves. They have to take orders from these Western countries. And the only solution is to take them out so we can have a leader who can advance the interest of the common man. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, I will stop right there. Comment, share, like, and tell me what you think. My name is Kenya Revolutionary. You can find me on Facebook. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace and blessings.